They didn't come for my grass height this time. They came for my son. Four enforcers in crisp navy jackets stood shoulder to shoulder on my porch that perfect Saturday morning in Willow Creek Estates, clipboards raised like weapons, and the ringleader, a woman with a smile sharper than her highlighted bob, announced they were here under Article 12 Section C, Minor Welfare Protocol. My name is Mark Thompson. I'm just a 45-year-old numbers guy who audits spreadsheets from home, so I can coach my kids' soccer team without missing a game. 6 months earlier, the same HOA had fined me $850 for visually disruptive garden gnomes that my son Liam had painted himself. I paid it, I removed the gnomes, I smiled in the group chat and said nothing. Peace, right? That's what they sell you in these cookie-cutter suburbs. Peace wrapped in 30 pages of covenants. But peace has teeth. Mr. Thompson, the lead enforcer purred, her name tag reading Compliance Officer 1D. Whitaker staff. We've received multiple anonymous reports that your son Liam has been constructing an unpermitted structure in the backyard. For his own safety, we need to conduct an immediate on-site interview and temporary relocation to the HOA Community Center until the violation is cleared. She said it like she was offering him cookies. Liam, 15, tall and lanky with the same messy brown hair as mine, froze halfway down the stairs holding a bowl of cereal. My wife Megan appeared behind me wiping her hands on a dish towel, eyes already narrowing. I kept my voice low, the way you do when you know the camera in the doorbell is rolling and every neighbor's ring is probably live streaming too. Relocation? You mean taking my kid? Without a warrant. Without me. Officer 1, later I'd learn her real name was Carla, Deborah Whitaker's personal attack dog, flashed that HOA smile, the one that says we're all friends here until we're not. It's standard procedure, sir. Property values and child safety come first. Mrs. Whitaker herself signed the order this morning. Deborah Whitaker. President. The woman who once sent a certified letter, because my recycling bin had a single plastic straw visible on Tuesday instead of Wednesday. The woman whose Christmas card featured her standing in front of her McMansion with the caption, "Keeping Willow Creek perfect for our families." Yeah, that Deborah. I stepped fully into the doorway, blocking it with my body the way any dad would. Show me the anonymous reports. Show me the court order. Otherwise you're trespassing. Carla's smile didn't flicker. She nodded once. The two men behind her moved like they'd rehearsed it, left foot forward, hands loose at their sides. The fourth, a short woman with a man bun, already had her phone out filming me. Liam's cereal bowl clattered on the stairs. Megan's hand landed on my back. "Sir, step aside or we'll have to note non-compliance," Carla said sweetly. "Fines start at $500 per day and can include lien on your home. We're doing this for Liam." That's when the laugh started in my chest, not the happy kind. The kind that tastes like battery acid. Because right then I understood. This wasn't about a treehouse. This was about the emails I'd quietly sent the HOA treasurer 2 weeks ago asking for last year's financials after noticing our dues had jumped 20% while the community pool still had that same crack in the shallow end. I didn't yell. I didn't swing. I just looked Carla dead in the eyes and said, "You touch my son and the only thing getting relocated today is your careers." Carla sighed theatrically. The sigh of every middle manager who's about to ruin your day for sport. She stepped forward. Her hand manicured French tip, HOA pin on the cuff, reached past me toward Liam's sleeve. That was the moment the whisper in my head turned into a roar. I didn't punch her. I simply closed the door hard on her wrist. Not enough to break bone, just enough to make her yelp and stagger back into her colleagues. The filming woman gasped like I'd committed murder on camera. Carla cradled her wrist, eyes wide with genuine shock that someone had finally said no. "You just assaulted a compliance officer," she shrieked, voice cracking the suburban silence like a dropped wine glass at a book club. Megan already had 911 on speaker. "Yes, for people claiming to be HOA are trying to take our son from our home. Yes, they're still on the porch. Hurry." The short woman kept filming, narrating in that breathless TikTok voice. "Guys, this dad just attacked us for trying to keep kids safe. Willow Creek, are we really letting this happen?" Neighbors started appearing on lawns like prairie dogs. "Old Mr. Henderson across the street clutched his newspaper, mouth open. The Wilson twins next door already had their phones up. Perfect. Carla recovered, straightened her jacket, and smiled again, this time for the cameras. Folks, you see what we're dealing with? Unstable elements threatening community safety. We'll be filing the police report and the violation notice. Property values depend on all of us working together. She said, working together. The way a mafia boss says insurance. The four of them backed off the porch, but not before Carla slapped a bright orange notice of immediate violation, child at risk, sticker on my front door like she was tagging a building for demolition. They climbed into their matching HOA golf cart. Yes, they have a branded golf cart with the slogan proudly enforcing excellence. And drove off at the legal speed of 12 miles per hour while waving at the gathering crowd like parade queens. Megan locked the deadbolt. Liam stood at the bottom of the stairs, cereal forgotten, eyes huge. Dad, they were really gonna take me? I pulled him into a hug, the kind that says I've got you even when the world's gone stupid. Not today, kid. Not ever. But I already knew the war had just started. Because 10 minutes later my phone started buzzing with neighborhood app notifications. The video was already up, edited of course. The part where Carla reached for Liam was cut. The part where I closed the door looked like I'd body-slammed a helpless woman. Caption: Violent resident assaults, HOA team trying to protect children. Thoughts, Willow Creek. The comments poured in like cheap wine at HOA mixer. Always knew that Thompson guy was trouble. Remember those ugly gnomes? Red flag. Call CPS, seriously. I sat at the kitchen island, laptop open, watching the digital lynching in real time while Megan paced and Liam stared at his sneakers. I didn't rage post. I didn't defend myself. I just opened a new folder on my desktop titled Project Karen and started downloading every public HOA document I could legally access. Because here's the thing about numbers, guys. We remember every decimal. And Deborah Whitaker had been rounding up a lot of them into her own pocket. That night the first drone appeared. It hovered 30 feet above our backyard, red light blinking, camera pointed straight at Liam's half-finished treehouse. I stepped onto the deck with a flashlight and the polite smile I'd perfected over 6 months of fines. Evening. Mind telling me which section of the bylaws allows private surveillance of private property? The drone speaker crackled. A voice I knew too well, sweet, syrupy, pure Karen, floated down. Just a routine roof and structure inspection, Mr. Thompson. Safety first. We'll be done in 5 minutes if you cooperate. I waved at the camera. Smile, Deborah. You're live on my ring too. The drone wobbled, then zipped away into the night like a guilty mosquito. Megan found me later on the porch, beer in hand, staring at the perfect lawns glowing under streetlights. You're planning something, she said, not a question. I clinked my bottle against hers. I'm just an auditor, babe. I follow the money. And right now the money is wearing pastel cardigans and calling itself community leadership. She laughed, but it was the nervous kind. Just don't get us evicted. Evicted? I took a long sip. Sweetheart, by the time I'm done, half this neighborhood is going to be asking for their dues back. Inside, Liam was already asleep with the lights on. I kissed his forehead and whispered the same promise I'd made myself 6 months ago when they fined me for gnomes. Never again. Only this time I meant it differently. The next 48 hours were a masterclass in suburban psychological warfare. Tuesday morning. Certified letter slid under the door at 7:03 a.m. Emergency special assessment, $2,475 for security response to resident aggression. Signed by Deborah Whitaker, President. Tuesday afternoon. 3 different neighbors casually mentioned they'd seen the video and hoped Liam was okay after the incident. Translation: We think you're a monster, but we're too polite to say it. Tuesday night. Another drone, this one with a spotlight that painted our windows like a police raid. When I stepped out, the speaker played a looped recording of children laughing. Except the laughter was slowed down until it sounded demonic. Cute. I didn't yell at the sky. I just held up my phone and narrated calmly for my own recording. Exhibit A. Unauthorized aerial surveillance. Exhibit B. Audio harassment. Time-stamped and geolocated. Thank you, Deborah. By Wednesday, the neighborhood app had turned into a digital Salem. Someone started a poll. Should the Thompsons be asked to leave for the safety of our children? 68% yes before I even finished my coffee. I still hadn't said a word publicly. Instead, I spent the nights cross-referencing bank statements the treasurer had accidentally left public in last year's meeting minutes. Deborah's consulting fees to her own LLC totaled $187,000 over 3 years. The community pool fund? Down 40%. The beautification budget? Straight into her new white Range Rover sitting in her 4-car garage. I printed everything. Nice and neat. Color-coded. Laminated the juiciest pages because I have a sense of humor. Thursday morning, Deborah herself showed up. Alone this time. No enforcers. Just her flawless blonde bob, pearl earrings, and a clipboard that probably had my obituary drafted on it. She rang the doorbell twice, polite little chimes. I opened the door with the same calm I use when explaining to clients why their books don't balance. Morning, President Whitaker. Come to inspect the mailbox alignment again. She smiled the smile that had won 3 straight HOA elections. Mark, may I call you Mark? I thought we could have a civilized conversation. Man to well, concerned community leader. These videos are causing quite the stir. Perhaps if you issued a public apology, we could drop the assessments. For Liam's sake, of course. I leaned against the doorframe. Funny. I was thinking the same thing. Public apology. For misappropriating almost 200 grand of our dues. For sending armed, compliance teams to kidnap children when dads ask for receipts. For the greater good of property values, naturally. Her smile froze like cheap Botox. I don't know what fairy tale you've cooked up, but I held up my phone. On the screen, a still frame of her LLC receiving a wire the same day the pool fund was repurposed. This fairy tale has receipts, Deborah. And tomorrow night at the annual meeting, the whole neighborhood gets to read it. Front row. Popcorn optional. She took one step back. Just one. But I saw it, the first crack in the porcelain mask. The moment the queen realized the peasants had pitchforks and spreadsheets. You'll ruin everything, she hissed, voice dropping the sugar. I built this community. No, I said softly. You stole it. And I'm about to give it back. She turned on her heel, perfect heels clicking down the walkway. Halfway to her Range Rover she paused, looked back, and delivered the line that should be engraved on her tombstone. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I smiled for the first time in days. Actually, Deborah, I've been auditing people like you my whole career. See you tomorrow night. The annual meeting was held in the community center that looked like a budget wedding venue. Ballroom with plastic chandeliers, folding chairs arranged in perfect rows, and a podium draped in the Willow Creek flag that somehow cost $1,200 according to the budget I now possessed. By 6:45 p.m., the place was packed. Word had spread that something big was happening. Even people who never came to meetings showed up, clutching their copies of the agenda like it was the latest true crime podcast. I sat in the third row with Megan on one side and Liam on the other. He'd wanted to stay home. I told him no, this was his fight too. He wore the same hoodie he'd had on during the porch incident, now with a small Sharpie drawing of a gnome flipping off a clipboard on the sleeve. My kid was learning. Deborah ascended the podium like a queen taking her throne. Powder blue cardigan, American flag pin, hair sprayed into submission. She tapped the mic and launched into her standard opening. Neighbors, friends, family, thank you for coming out on this beautiful evening to celebrate what makes Willow Creek special. Unity, safety, and shared values. Before we get to old business, I'd like to address some recent unpleasantness. She looked straight at me. The room followed her gaze. Phones came out. Recording. Some residents have chosen confrontation over cooperation. Assaulting compliance officers, spreading baseless rumors, undermining the very board that keeps our property values 23% above the county average. It breaks my heart, truly. But for the children. I stood up. Not dramatically. Just stood like I was stretching before a long meeting. Point of order, Madam President. The room went dead silent. Even the AC seemed to hold its breath. Deborah's smile tightened. Mr. Thompson, This is not the time for personal grievances. Please sit down or I'll have security. Security? I interrupted, voice carrying without shouting. You mean the same compliance officers you sent to my house to grab my son because I asked for last year's financials? A ripple through the crowd. Someone in the back muttered. Wait, what? I didn't wait for permission. I walked to the front, laptop under my arm, and plugged it into the projector they use for landscaping inspiration slides. The screen lit up with the first page of my neatly prepared presentation titled, Where Did Your Dues Really Go? Since we're all about transparency tonight, I said, clicking to the next slide, bank statements highlighted in yellow, let's talk numbers. Because that's what I do. Last year the beautification fund received $184,000. According to the budget, $92,000 went to new playground equipment. Anyone see new playground equipment? Crickets. A few heads swiveled toward the window where the same rusty swings had stood for 8 years. Funny thing, I continued, $91,500 went to an LLC called Perfect Community Consulting, which, according to Texas Secretary of State records, is owned by one Deborah A. Whitaker. Gasps. Actual audible gasps, the kind you hear in soap operas. Deborah's face had gone the color of her cardigan. This is ridiculous defamation. I will not stand here and... Slide 3. Her Range Rover purchase receipt, dated 3 days after the consulting wire. Slide 4. The drone flight log showing it hovering over my house for 47 minutes the night after the porch incident. Slide 5. The audio clip I'd cleaned up, her voice on the drone speaker saying, keep filming until he loses it. We need the video. The room erupted. Mrs. Alvarez from 2 streets over stood up. My pool assessment went up $300 and the filter still leaks. Where'd that money go, Deborah? Mr. Henderson waved his cane. You fined me for my flag being 2 inches too tall on July 4th. 2 inches. Liam actually laughed, the first real laugh I'd heard from him in days. It cut through the noise like a bell. Deborah tried to regain control, banging the gavel like it owed her money. This meeting is adjourned until... No, it's not, I said quietly, but the mic picked it up. Because I also have copies of the police report from last Saturday. The real one. The one that shows your officers had no warrant, no probable cause, and one of them has a prior for impersonating a public official in another county. Want to see that slide? She didn't. Instead, she did what every cornered Karen eventually does. She went full victim. I have sacrificed everything for this community. My time, my reputation, my weekends. And this man comes in with his conspiracy theories because he can't follow simple rules. Megan stood up beside me. Simple rules don't include trying to kidnap a child because his dad asked for receipts. The applause started slow, then built. Phones turned from recording me to recording her. The tide had turned so fast I almost felt bad. Almost. That's when Carla and the other 3 enforcers burst through the side door like they were raiding a meth lab. Badges out, clipboards raised like shields. Everyone remain calm. Carla shouted. We're removing the disruptive resident for everyone's safety. They marched straight toward me. I didn't move. I just pointed at the projector still running. Slide 7. Security camera footage from the community center parking lot. Timestamp 30 minutes earlier. Showing Carla and Deborah in the golf cart. Deborah handing Carla an envelope fat with cash and saying, make sure he doesn't leave here with that laptop. The room went from applause to absolute bedlam. Carla froze mid-step. Deborah's perfect hair suddenly looked wilted. And then the real police, actual county sheriff's deputies I'd called an hour before the meeting, walked in through the back doors I'd left unlocked for them. Deborah Whitaker? We're going to need you to come with us. Embezzlement, fraud, conspiracy to commit false imprisonment, we've got quite the list. The handcuffs clicked around her wrists right there under the plastic chandeliers. Her last words as they let her out were pure poetry. This is a witch hunt. My lawyer will destroy you all. Property values will plummet. Mr. Henderson yelled after her. Good. Maybe then we can afford to fix the damn pool. The meeting didn't end. It transformed. People who hadn't spoken to each other in years started comparing fine notices. A line formed at the treasurer's table demanding refunds. Someone started a GoFundMe for Liam's treehouse. Reached $3,200 in 12 minutes. The new acting president, an exhausted-looking accountant mom who'd never wanted the job, promised emergency elections and an independent audit. I stayed until the last deputy left, answering questions, showing spreadsheets, letting neighbors pat my shoulder like I just won the Super Bowl. Liam posed for selfies with half the soccer team. Megan just kept shaking her head, smiling the tired, proud smile that says, "You absolute lunatic, I love you." Around 10 p.m., we finally walked out into the warm Texas night. The community center lights reflected off the perfectly mowed lawns like nothing had happened. But everything had. Deborah's Range Rover was already towed. Her house across the street had a single light on upstairs, probably her husband packing. By morning the neighborhood app had a new pinned post. "Welcome to the new Willow Creek, where the only Karen getting removed is the one who stole from us." Liam fell asleep in the car before we reached our block. Megan reached over and squeezed my hand. "You could have just paid the stupid fine again." I laughed softly. "Yeah. But then who would have protected the gnomes?" She rolled her eyes, but she was grinning. 2 weeks later the independent audit came back. Deborah had siphoned $214,000 over 4 years. Charges stuck. Her face made the local news. Blurry mugshot, perfect hair still somehow flawless even in custody. The headline read, "HOA president arrested after attempted kidnapping disguised as safety check." Karma has excellent SEO. Liam finished his treehouse. Painted it bright red with little gnome soldiers guarding the ladder. No one complained. The new board actually voted to make treehouses legal up to 12 feet. Unanimous. I went back to auditing spreadsheets and coaching soccer. But every once in a while a new resident asks about the legendary meeting. I just smile and say, sometimes the quiet dad in row 3 has the loudest receipts. The other night I was on the porch again, same beer, same view of perfect lawns. A new drone buzzed overhead, someone's kid practicing. It dipped low and for a second I tensed. Then the kid waved from his own yard and yelled, "Sorry, Mr. Thompson. Won't film your house, promise." I waved back. "You're good, kid. Just remember, always keep your own receipts. Because here's the thing they don't tell you in the welcome packet. The real threat in these perfect suburbs isn't the guy with the slightly long grass or the ugly gnomes. It's the smiling neighbor with the clipboard who tells you the rules are for your own good, while picking your pocket and your peace of mind. So tell me, when the HOA comes for your son, your mailbox, or your right to ask questions, who's really in the wrong? The dad who finally said no? Or the Karen who thought the rulebook made her untouchable? Drop your verdict in the comments. I'll be here drinking coffee waiting for the next inspection. Because in Willow Creek, the grass is always greener, especially when the president's in prison.